by the way, don't mind. All right, what's up, YouTube? It's me, Alex, the amazing male dating coach, and my kitty cat, who's somewhere around here. So don't mind him. And then we got a beautiful lazy dog in the background. So what's up? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mary Kate. I am a matchmaker here in Florida and dating coach. And we have another expert dating coach right here, Alex, Playing with Fire. And he really gears more a lot of his content towards men, and I just love this dynamic of like men and women and how we all want the same thing, but we all kind of go about a different way of getting there. But it's important to know how the other person really goes about it, because then I feel like the ball's in your court and it's better. You have better game when you know how the other sex thinks, you know? And so anyways, tonight we're just going to be talking about how to go from like the talking stage to the actually getting date stage, because that's really what we want, right? Ultimately. And is that like a struggle for the people you work with, Alex, that like maybe they're in the pen pal mode, or like,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we call it like being friend zoned or whatever, or on the way to be friend zoned. Yeah, that is a big struggle. There's a category of guys, and I used to be one of them, who don't really struggle having a platonic conversation with a girl. There's some guys who can't do that, right? But a lot of guys, they can actually have like normal convos with girls. They even have female friends. But what they cannot do is turn those platonic interactions into anything romantic or sexual. And that used to be me actually when I was like 18, 19, 20. Yeah, up until 21. Like I had a bunch of female friends. But it was a lot of them were girls that I wanted to sleep with or I found very attractive. I just was horrible at communicating that, and I just wound up beating around the bush and getting friend zone forever. I mean, I literally one time, I remember this was when I was 18, yeah, almost 18, 19. In college, I had this one girl that I had a massive crush on sleep in my bed because she needed a place to stay. And then I was so, can I say the word retarded? Well, whatever, I just said. I was so retarded that I didn't even make a move. And then it wasn't until the next day that my friends made fun of me that it came to my mind that maybe she had some kind of sexual desires. I just thought like, hey, sometimes girls, don't want to walk 2 minutes to the dorm room and they want to, sometimes they want to stay somewhere else. So that's how like backwards my mind was. So yeah, I can definitely empathize with that struggle.
yeah, but like it's a lot. Like it's actually interesting though, because I mean I find this fascinating how like how men think about it and how women do. Like for example, the other day, like my husband was like, "Yeah, I think someone." Yeah, and he's like, "I'm pretty sure this woman was hitting on me at the gym," and he explained the scenario, and I was like, "I could have done that same thing and not think that I'm hitting on you." But as a man, you're like, "Ooh, that was a green light." Like so she was like, I don't know. He asked like, "Oh, are you done with that machine?" And she's like, "Oh no, I've got a couple more reps." And he's like, "Okay, cool, whatever. Use the machine after." Then he went on, did a different machine, and then she followed, not follow, but like next to him, was like, "Oh, I swear I'm not following you." He's like, "Oh no, don't worry." He's like, "Yeah, but back in the day, in my single days, like I would have tapped that, like I would have like taken that as an opportunity." And I was like, I could have been in her shoes and not felt like I was hitting on someone. You see
It
what I'm
really
saying?
just depends on her like proximity and her tonality, right? Those two, the situation could play out totally platonically and could play out with her hitting on him. Just how close does she get to him? At any point, does she find a little reason to touch him? Is she looking at him? Is she smiling extra hard? Is she twirling her hair? How does her tonality sound? Is it very matter of factly, or does it sound like she's maybe a little bit anxious, or she's whatever? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that could play out two different ways.
Totally, totally. But anyways, that was a little side comment. But no, let's get back to like the communication, texting, or you're in the apps. And like, do you have a rule of thumb? Like, I don't like to make rules when it comes to, because every situation, I mean, every conversation, every person is different. Where you really have to read the energy. Like, are you being reciprocated with the same energy that you're giving? Which actually that's what I want to start with real quick. I had a guy actually tell me tonight at an event. He's like, men just don't want to really try these days. Like men just kind of are like, oh, I gotta like do the work of like the conversations and stuff. I'm like, dude, yeah, like dating's work. Like, why shouldn't it be? Like if you or ultimately if you're gonna go in for a long-term relationship, like that you're talking about, that's a big deal. It's a big investment in your life. So yeah, that takes work, that takes energy. So I hate when people are like, oh, it shouldn't take work. I'm like, that's bullshit. But in the talking stages where you're like, great banter, what do you think? Like, should they see each other right away? Should they go to the phone call right away? Should they take it off the apps right away as soon as they can? Like, if they you notice there's a little bit of a connection, like, what are you teaching your guys to do?
Well, I think in general, if you like a girl, if you find her, if you want to either sleep with her, be her to be your girlfriend, or anything in between, that you should not just try to friend her first. You should make that clear from the start. It doesn't have to be like in an autistic way, like, hey, I am thinking about sleeping with you. But in a socially savvy way, I think that should be pretty clear. There's no interaction that like where the girl's like, I wonder if he was hitting on me. Like the girl knows that I'm hitting on her. So that's the first thing. In terms of like the dating apps, I think it's assumed that it's something more than platonic unless you make it platonic. So yeah, you want to show like some kind of interest. Again, good ways to tease the girl, to flirt with the girl. I have like a million like examples that I post on my channel where you can like kind of see how I do it. But yeah, what you don't want to do is just have a boring platonic conversation and just not move things forward and just keep it very professional and platonic. Like, hey, how's your day? What do you do for fun? What do you like to do? You like your job? If you a little bit of that is okay. Like if that's all you're doing, then eventually the girl's gonna like just be like, okay, like this guy's not making a move. He's probably a pussy. I'll just be friends with him.
Totally. And so that's what I want to touch on, where it's like you're in this like this stage, like what this guy said. Oh man, guy these days I don't really want to put in effort. And by the way, Alex, I don't know if you know this, but how I coach my clients, like I'm literally behind the scenes. I'm behind the dating app scenes. I'm seeing the conversations. I like right now, like I have two gorgeous clients, like no problem getting dates, so it's so fascinating to see the behind the curtain, to see like how men are actually showing up in these conversations. And it's like it's just prolonging what? Like, so we can just continue to talk? Like, what is it? And also, by the way, like,
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say it's a way of avoiding rejection. So it's like if you never make a move, then you never actually get rejected. So it's like, oh, it's also fear of ruining it. So it's like, well, I just want to play it really, really slow because I don't want to mess it up. But then by not taking a chance, you are gonna guarantee to mess it up. So yeah, girls attract to guys who are not afraid to take smart social risks, guys who have like balls. And if you're a guy who's playing it super duper safe because you're worried about messing it up or you're nervous about getting rejected, then eventually you're gonna get friend zoned, and that's a form of rejection as is. But some guys just again they prefer to be friend zoned than to get actually rejected. But I always say that like that's like silly. Like I'd rather have a girl either sleep with me or say that I'm not interested than some in between where she's like, I don't know, blah blah blah. Like that's why I think it's important to be polarizing, not to like a autistic degree, but I think some polarization is good. Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well You might as well make the move and no. Like at the end, like because you're like, what's the point of all these conversations if you're not actually making moves?
It's always better to make the move and get rejected than not make a move because a girl will respect you more. If a girl senses that you're interested in her but you don't make a move, she's gonna like eventually lose respect for you. Versus if you make a move and you get rejected and you don't like get butthurt after the rejection, I think a girl's gonna respect you more, and then you might be able to in a few days make another move, and that time it might work better. So yeah, it's always better to make a move and get rejected than not make a move at all.
I stand behind that. I stand behind that. And what about this, Alex? What I see a lot is that you've probably heard this complaint with women where they feel like they're carrying the conversation. They feel like they're always the one, like or it's either they're carrying it or they're expecting the guy to be more intentional about it.
The complaint is from the women or from the men?
From the women, where
they have to carry the convos.
Say it again.
The complaint is that they have to carry the convos, and they want
and the guy isn't like, again. So okay, real quick before I explain the scenario, like I see both sides. Where with the women, I'm like, it's not like I'm dumbifying men. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But it's like, don't expect men to be amazing communicators. As in general, men just aren't as big talkers as women, period. And so, yeah, when you're trying to have like a potentially like meaningful conversation via text, it's normal that that's not their strong suit, So like, I'm all about managing expectations, And so coming in with that expectation, I think is misleading for the females. Where it's like, it's always giving energy where I'm giving it where you're receiving it, But I do see that like men just aren't like asking good questions. They're just kind of like, cool, like that. Okay, cool. Like you live there. That's what you do. Cool. Like, I don't know. Like I think men could definitely step up a little bit
Yeah,
there.
for sure. A lot of guys don't know how to banter or flirt,
Mm,
and yeah, they. I think yeah, it's basically socially accepted that at least in the early stages, the guy will lead and carry the convo. And if you want to be a rebel, that's fine, but you're just going to miss out on like the majority of girls. So like for a girl, she can totally she has the luxury of not having to lead the conversation because there's going to be a guy that will come along that will carry the convo.
yeah.
They're not super rare. But versus for a guy, if he can't carry a convo in the early stages, then he's not the chance of a girl coming along that's willing to do that is a lot smaller. So it's just about like what what the market is and kind of what your role is. But yeah, I think it's a great skill to be able to carry a convo.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's a missing skill. Sorry, Alex. I think that's actually the missing skill in dating. It's like simply conversation, like legitimate conversation. Not like anyone can create superficial, surface level conversations, you know. But I think that's like the prime point in saying out in today's dating world landscape
Um,
is
Well,
is
there's different types of combos, right? There, like you can have an intellectual conversation, or like you can have a very logical conversation. But that's not really gonna further your cause that much as a guy. Like it's a certain type of combo. Like you want to have a conversation where the girl feels emotions. Uh,
yes,
she laughs, she feels tension. Like you want to make the girl feel a series of emotions. One is good, but more is better. Obviously, not negative emotions, but
yeah.
you want to make the girl feel emotions. So the way you would do that isn't just by like, so are you going to vote for Trump or Kamala? Right? That will probably will not inflict strong emotions unless she's like super passionate about politics. But like by playfully teasing her, be like, oh, cool, I like that little thing you wore there. It's cute, right? Like that will make her feel like a lot more emotion. Like, wait, you do like it? I'm like, yeah, I said I like it. Why? Do you not like? I don't know, just like kind of fucking with a girl a little bit, teasing the girl, being playful. That's gonna cause her to feel a lot more emotion, and that's kind of what you want is emotions.
You do, and I think I think the quickest way to stir that in the initial stages on the dating apps, because this is just a numbers game at this point. You know, you're dealing with dozens of conversations at once, and this is like my offer to men. Like, yes, that banter, that flirty, totally fun, totally makes you stand out. But also, what's going to make you stand out too? And I mean, we're just going to talk dating apps for this scenario is like asking not your run of the mill questions. Like start by like, hey, wow, like I see you're a school teacher, you know, ask in-depth questions like what inspired you to do that? Like anything that's like, oh my gosh, well, you thought something like about me? Like, wow, okay, cool. Like that check plus right there. Like even if you're a nerd, like the fact that you are asking like introspective questions, meaningful, thought-provoking, not even thought-provoking, it's not even thought-provoking, but it's like there's intention behind that question, you know, is super standoutish and meaningful for the women. So the banter is definitely important, but I think that's even more important when you're in person. I think it's like because anyone can like because like let's be honest, Alex, like people can be amazing texters with banter and then in person you're like you're hella awkward, you know? But like if you can like spark that emotion like you said with like not your run of the mill questions, like the one that actually show an intention, you're gonna do a better job at winning her over.
Yeah, well, for sure, because I mean, like, well, technically, you need to have some texting skills to get to the date level. So it's like, is which one is more important? Well, I don't know because if you might be amazing in person, but if you're a horrible texter, you might not get a date to begin with.
Yeah.
For dating apps, for I guess any other
Yep.
scenario, it doesn't really matter how your texting is. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, unique questions are good. You don't want to ask boring questions. Like, what do you do for fun? Pretty boring question that everyone asks. You want to ask questions that she probably hasn't been asked a million times. But I don't like just asking question after question. I like building on a question. So I might ask, "Where are you from originally?" She might say like, "I'm from Colombia," and I might be like, "Oh, cool. I spent some time in Medellin. What part are you from?" She might be like, "Oh, I'm from Bogota." I'd be like, "Ah, cool. You're a Rolla." She's like, "Yeah, how did you know?" That's by the way, that's what slang word for someone who's from Bogota. And just building on that rather than just I think guys sometimes make the mistake of jumping around different questions. They just fire off questions. A girl answers the question, they ask another question. Versus I like to build on the question and alternate statements with questions and tease the girl and flirt and fuck around. Then once that thread is dead, then only move on to the next question.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. So yeah, ask the really good question, not the BS surface level question. Ask the good question and then build off of that. Yeah. that's going to make you stand out for sure. That's going to be get you your foot a little bit more in the door. Yeah. And let's talk about like how to go from this like fun, cool, hopefully potentially friendly banter, on the dating apps to now the date, like the phone call potentially, because that's where people get sidelined. Like people are in these conversations and there's friendly banter and then all of a sudden like, bye, like where'd you go? And no one actually gets off the launching pad.
I think the majority of guys struggle to even get a date to begin with. But yeah, for sure, there are some guys that struggle. Like they can get dates, but then they can't do anything on the date because they're awkward or they're weird or whatever. Yeah, I mean, like in terms of like how to banter in person, I think that I've actually done demonstration videos on this where I just like recreate some
Yes, you're
scenarios.
amazing at this.
Yeah, but I would say that like first of all, you should lower the bar for what is acceptable conversation. What I always say is like, okay, do you ever run out of things to say with your friends? And the answer is almost always no. And then you say, okay, well, why do you think it's different with a girl? And the answer is always because they set a much higher bar for what is acceptable conversation. So just lower that bar, and then you won't run out of things to say. I think that's good. But yeah, just learning how to banter and tease and flirt is kind of like a skill that you develop. I mean, I was notoriously terrible at it, and just through like years of practice, I've gotten a lot better at it.
Really? Like what did what's the expression? Failure or fail forward? Like so you just what? Practice, practice, practice?
Yeah, practice, but you also have to have some level of self awareness that you can learn. So you don't. So some people delude themselves and think they're doing great, and the problem is like the girl or something like that. So you need some level of self awareness. If you don't have that, then you are going to need a coach because they can point out to you. If you have a decent amount of self awareness, then you might not need one. You can, although they can probably speed up the process, but in that case, you can just learn from your own mistakes and like reanalyze. Like that's what I would do is I would just like analyze the date afterwards in my mind and be like, okay, this is where I felt like things went a little sideways. This is what I said. But yeah, but in order to do that, you need self awareness.
100%. You're taking a page out of my book because I always say like dating is literally just go in the bathroom, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, what do I got to change? Like what's going right? What's going wrong? What's not working for me? Yeah. It's that willingness to change, and like, it's not even like, oh, you got to change who you are as a person. It's not, it's about changing your approach. It's about accepting that, yeah, the communication style, these little texts or whatever you're doing isn't working. And there's something you got to change about it. Yeah.
That's
And
why, yeah, that's why they have like inner game and outer game, or we can call it conscious versus subconscious.
yeah,
But like it's a paradox, right? Because like let's say a guy lacks confidence, and he knows logically he has to be more confident, but that's not really going to help him that much, right?
mm,
Because confidence comes from your subconscious reference experience, and your subconscious perception of your competence and your self worth, right?
yes.
So it does need to start with the conscious, but with a lot of these things like you need to put conscious effort to change the subconscious. Like again, like let's say like, okay, I need to be funnier, right? But again, like that's not going to make you funnier. Like that's
Yeah.
so it's yeah, that's what makes it a longer process. Is that it's not enough just to if you're suffering with or not suffering, but like if you have a lack of confidence or any other kind of inner game stuff, then it's not enough to logically understand that. Like you need to actually change your subconscious, and there's like many different approaches to it. There's a psychological
Like
approach.
Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, they have like a bunch of different approaches, but the
Yeah.
ones that work for me is just through positive reference experiences. So if I'm like, okay, I need to be more confident, then I'll just practice that thing and I'll become more competent in it. And eventually I'll get enough positive reference experiences where my subconscious brain will be like, oh, you've actually done this before many times. And so it's okay for you to be more confident. So yeah, I think that's what's worked for me, but there's other ways to change your subconscious.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And what I always say, like and well, my tagline is like the biggest tool in your dating toolbox is your self-confidence. But yeah, okay, so should I just like go to the store and buy some more self-confidence? Like how do you do that? And I think it starts with really acknowledging like what you're already good at. Like stop like saying, oh man, I'm not good at flirting, I'm not good at suave or whatever. Like maybe you're good at health and fitness, like whatever it is, like double down on what you're good at. Don't try to major in what you're not good at. Although it's important, like that subconscious, but like really believing and understanding, accepting, and just exuding like what you're really good at. That just builds, I think, confidence in general.
I think it depends on what that thing is. Like, let's say you're really weak in social skills, right? No amount of like focus, like, and let's say you're really great at like engineering. No amount of like focusing on your engineering is gonna help you be more confident in your social skills. So for that, like, I always believe like the best way to get better at something is to work on it directly rather than working on it indirectly. Yeah, like if you need to improve your social skills, you just need to practice a lot more being in social situations and yeah, learning from the mistakes you make through self-awareness. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good not to think of yourself as like a total loser. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. The problem is that some guys have weaknesses that are like their weaknesses are all the things that girls find attractive. So for them, it's like you have to like fix those things.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, yeah, and the analogy I'm trying to make is that, like, we can all just say, like, "Oh, it's just so easy, like, just be more this, more that," and, like, it's just sometimes it's so intangible, thinking how to even start, with, becoming more of a higher commodity on the dating landscape, But, yeah, no, if it's, like, a skill that does not apply to relationships and love, then yeah, that's not going to always help you. However, like many people and women, like what's like that's why you can see an attractive woman with a not so attractive dude, but it's really unlikely you'll see a really hot dude with a not so attractive woman. And
Well, I've
that's
seen that so many times.
uh I'm sure it exists in the realm of everything. Like I'm sure there's possibilities, but like in the end, because women, and this is just biologically speaking, like men are just more attracted physically to the outer appearance, and yeah, and just as a dating coach and a matchmaker, like that, like the men that come to me, they're like, this is what's important, number one, and very rarely, all the whole 6 foot plus thing, but very rarely is a woman like, oh my god, he's got to have this feature, he's got to have this physical attribute, but like it's more of like that sapio, like sexual, like a women can, like, if you're smart and intelligent, that can be a major turn on for women. So it's okay to have that tool in your toolbox too. But there was something I want to say about, like, yeah, getting off the launching pad, going on the date. How do you feel about women making that initiative?
I think it's good. It's awesome. If I could get all women to show interest when they're interested in a guy, I would happily take that option. But I think most women are already in a place of abundance, or at least when it comes to initial interest. So like a lot of girls are going to be like, especially the more attractive girls who get like hit on a lot, they're gonna be like, I don't need to do that. There's going to be plenty of guys that will come and hit on me. But I think it would be great, yeah, if more women did that.
Yeah. I've heard some men be like, no, that's like a turn off. Like if a woman, I'm like, why? Like, it's not like she's like automatically now put in the category of some badass independent boss babe, like just because she makes the initiative. Like, how about like just it takes two to tango? And if she's interested, like, why does she have to wait to be courted? Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I hate when people get in these like they pigeonhole themselves in these like mindsets and these rules. Like, no, women have to be this way, women have to be that way. I'm like, how about y'all just be adults and have good old mature adult conversations? But a podcast I listened to just recently was this guy. I want to hear your insight on this. This guy, do you know Esther Perel?
Say that again.
Esther Perel?
No.
Oh no, look her up. She's I mean, TED Talk famous, all that, like, but she's super, I don't know, 30, 40 year plus experience in sex and relationships, so she's a clinical therapist, psychologist, all that. And so she does this podcast where like she'll usually counsel couples, but sometimes she'll have singles call in and like just talk about their challenges. And so this guy, 33, successful, had 2 long-term relationships in his life up to that point, but he's like, I am equally optimistic about dating and equally utterly exhausted at dating. Like, I'm on the apps, I put myself in opportune places to meet people, and it's just nothing is working. Like I'll talk to people and we'll have like good banter for like 2 weeks, and then like apparently this happened to him like a handful of times, and then they had a date or two, and then that's it, and it fizzles. And a lot of singles are frustrated with that these days. Like, do you hear about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the solution to that is just to move faster. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to agree or disagree with this, but generally my philosophy is like, if I like a girl, even if I want to marry this chick, I'm going to try to sleep with her as fast as possible without coming off as pushy or pressuring in any way, right? And
And being
that's
authentic.
sorry, what?
Well, is it authentic if there's always an agenda?
Well, I don't see. So the thing is that like as long as you're upfront about what you want, then there's no agenda, right? Like it's only if you're like hiding it and you're pretending like no, I'm not that kind of guy. But if you're like very upfront, which is my style, is just I'm forward, like you kind of know what you get with me, then I don't see it as any kind of hidden agenda because the girl knows exactly what I want. But my reasoning for it is this. I think this applies more to younger people and less to like people 35, 40 plus, but especially if you're like Gen X, Gen Z, is that girls who are 20, 25, whatever, they have a lot of options, and there's always guys hitting on them, and they're like kind of all over the place. And sex is like the ultimate form of investment for a girl. So if you can sleep with a girl and then you treat her well after sex, and you make her feel comfortable, and assuming that you make her feel in a way that she doesn't regret that decision, then she's going to be a lot more invested in you, and then you're going to have much easier time getting date two. That's just always been my experience. Like I'm on my fifth girlfriend now, fifth serious girlfriend, and probably the one I'll be with forever. But with every girlfriend I've had, I slept with her on either the first or second date. And I think guys think that, oh, if you sleep with a girl fast, then she's gonna think that you don't want anything serious. But you can just after sex, you can show that you actually want something more than just sex, like by like cuddling with her, spending time with her, and inviting her to get food, or when you're hanging out, suggesting another date. So yeah, and I think women sometimes think that if they fuck a guy on the first date, then he's not going to take them seriously. And to be fair, there are some guys who are like that. There's some guy. I don't know if it's a small percentage, but there's some guys, and I'm not a big fan of this, but there's some guys who are like, if she sleeps with me on the first date, she's not wifey material. She's only wifey material. She's like a virgin or whatever. But like, I don't think those guys would have been good partners anyway. So I don't think the girl's really missing out on much by screening those guys out. But for me and like a lot of other guys I know, it's like we don't really care about how fast you sleep with us. In fact, we probably prefer you sleep with us faster. It's more about how you carry yourself and other things about your life rather than like that's going to make your relationship material rather than just like the speed at which you have sex. But again, like I don't know how judgmental most people are, but for me, it's like I don't think there's anything wrong at all with a girl having sex on the first date. I don't see any kind of moral, ethical, or any kind of issue without it. But I'm like, again, I'm more the like the non-judgmental side when it comes to sexuality. I'm like, hey, listen, if consenting adults can do whatever the fuck they want, no one's getting hurt, then I don't see an issue. But again, to be fair, not everyone is like me.
You make the rules. No. I side with you, Alex. Yeah. No, my husband was the first night. Yeah, and him and I always talk about it. We're like, why do? And I'm sorry, ladies, I love you, but it takes one to know one, because there was a majority of my like up until when the first time I had sex, up until me and my now husband, like a majority of my mindset was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't dare sleep within the first, because then if I do that, they're going to think this of me, they're going to think that of me. And my offer to women who have that mindset is, well, I hear you, I understand you, but are you doing it for them or are you doing it for you? Because most times women withhold because like, I don't want to be judged. Yeah. If I do it, they're going to think this and then XYZ and all other novella, these reasons. But so why are you withholding it? Because if you in reality want to have sex, then do it for you. Don't do it because of whatever this story that this guy is going to think of. Like, I don't know. And yeah, I think it's ridiculous because when I look back on when I did do that, I was like, yeah, I was doing it because I was thinking of what they were going to think of me, And it's just like, I'm like in Spanish, like malvas, like you're not heading the right direction. If you're dating with the intention, I'm always thinking of what this other person's going to think of you. Like, start dating for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that from a girl's perspective, to be fair, women are grow up with a lot more shame around sex,
and they do have more emotional, like I've had so many women say no I just don't, because I'm more emotionally invested after sex, and I can't expect that they match my emotional investment when I know myself and I do get more emotionally invested, and that's not fair to put that pressure on that person, and I can get that too.
Yeah, sure. There's different strokes for different folks. I understand why some girls wouldn't sleep on the first date. I think also to some extent it's up to the guy's game or the guy to make the girl feel comfortable about having sex in the first date. Like I don't know how to say this without bragging, but I've slept with a few girls who at least they say that I'm the first guy they've ever slept with on the first date, and some of them I definitely believe.
Whoa, that's okay.
But like, I mean, some of them were like literal virgins, so like it's hard to take
Well,
that.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, that's respect. Okay.
But the reason that usually is just I just come off very non-judgmental and I make them feel
Yeah.
like very comfortable. It's like, hey, listen, like if you sleep with me, whether you do it or not, it always has to be like a no pressure thing. Like, hey, listen, if you want to sleep with me, that's cool. If not, that's fine. No, I don't have a like, it's no pressure either way. But if you do, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to think less of you. Obviously, you don't say that directly, but that's what should be sub-communicated.
Yeah, but no, how you set it up is that the ball's in their court. And you're basically saying, I'm going to respect you and think you're awesome. I don't care really what you choose. So, and that's
Well,
like, oh,
I think it has to. Like, if a woman feels pressured to have sex, she's much less likely to have sex, and if she does, she's gonna much more likely to regret it. So I think pressure, aside from the ethical issues, is just also pragmatically a bad approach. Like, you want the girl, and I think that when you don't pressure a girl, when you're very laissez-faire, girls are more likely to actually do it. Versus
yeah.
guys kind of like almost like chasing her down for sex, then the girl's gonna be a little bit more distant and turned off. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. No, but also like there's so much you're not even saying the words. Like there's like this communication that's going on that's not being said, but like that's felt, and that's I think the subliminal, messages. So it's like either you're pressuring her by saying it or you're not like doing that, but it's still felt, And so I think that the more that you can make the woman feel like the ball's in her court, it's all her choice, she's more empowered and probably attracted she would be to have it.
Yeah, what's a really interesting thing I've noticed? Like this is going to be. Do you mind if I go a little dark for a second?
Sure.
So, there's obviously a lot of women unfortunately get raped, right? It's a tragic thing, and I've slept with a good amount of like rape survivors. And what's interesting thing that I've noticed about them is that everything will be, and as we're like right about to have sex, they'll say stop, and then all they want to do is just make sure you respect their no, and then if you just stop for a minute. Like, well, obviously you should stop either way, but like when you stop for a minute and you just show that you're not going to like rape them, that like they'll be like a minute later, they'll be like, okay, we can have sex, like almost to that. And I've noticed that with a lot of rape survivors is that like because of their trauma and they just want to make sure that you will respect their no, but they actually still want to have sex with you, but they're just almost testing you in a way to see if you're like a rapist or not.
No, it's not. No, but it's not that. Like, I mean, maybe 1 ounce of that, but
maybe not that per se, but that like you're a guy that will respect their no,
exactly,
so that you won't, so they don't feel pressured. Because a rape survivor is going to feel extra type of way about like anything pressure related.
No. I've had a few boyfriends who've as well have had relations with surviving. Have been anyways, women who have been raped, and they report surprisingly like. It's not like they can't like and won't and don't want to have sex, like, but it's like this like where they feel so respected that it's in their control and they don't have to doubt that it's
it's about control. Like they want to, because the thing that like when a girl's being raped or whatever, it's just the lack of control is also a big part of the trauma. So they want to make sure that they have control, like that they're not out of control, which is totally understandable.
Totally. And at the end of the day, Alex, let's be honest, us women, we want to feel safe. We want to feel secure. Sure. There's nothing that turns us on more than that feeling and like that like overwhelming sense that like, wow, like this guy's got me, like in the best sense, like hell yeah, I'll spread my legs, let's go. Like, so I think there's so much communication that gets to go on around that, which leads us back to the very topic that we're talking about tonight, which is communication, which is going from the talking stage to getting the date stage to eventually, move into that next level of having sex, like you can't do any of it without having a sense of like good communication skills, period.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the more you can practice that and level up in that skill set, I know Alex teaches that, I teach that. That's like foundation of my coaching, which is just like get better at freaking talking. And the more you get better at it, like the easier this whole dating process will be.
Yeah, there's like different types of communication. Like for example, when I was like younger, like 21, 22, coming out of my incel phase, I got pretty good at the part of communication needed to sleep with a girl, but I wasn't quite good at the part of communication to have a relationship. And that's like one thing I've learned through having relationships is how to communicate with it, because it is a bit different, like the communication that you need to just sleep with a girl and to maintain a long-term healthy relationship. But yeah,
very true.
I think communication is like super duper important outside of dating for like pretty much every other area of your life. Social skills are like the biggest cheat code you can have. If you have good social skills, you'll climb your corporate hierarchy more. You'll be more likely to, if you start a business, get investors. Like it's the probably the most valuable skill is just having really good social skills. Like
Yeah.
you can just go such a long way if you have that. And a lack of social skills can hurt you in so many ways. Again, with your career, you might be the best person for the job, but if the interviewer doesn't like you, then he won't give you the job. He'll give to some dipshit who has better social skills.
100%. Yeah, I was telling you about a client of mine who like she literally teaches women how to climb the corporate ladder and all that. And the foundation to all this, like, if you don't know how to freaking talk your way to the top, it don't matter about your skills. You could be better than everyone in your department as far as your individual skills, but again, it doesn't mean shit unless you can actually negotiate and do better at talking. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah. But no, I'm a big believer. You want to stand out. I don't know if you agree to disagree, Alex, but my number one offer to people in the dating apps, you want to stand out? Like, yeah, of course, picture says 1,000 words, get some damn good pictures, to set yourself apart, but start asking better questions that, you can go off of banter, you can go off of flirting, that's where you're going to now get the win with the ladies, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think good questions are important. I wouldn't say they're like the I don't know if they're the most important thing, but they're definitely quite important to ask interesting, unique questions. For sure. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah. Cool. Right on. Well, this has been fun. You know me. It's
Yeah,
past
sure.
the bedtime.
We covered communication. We covered rape. We covered a lot of
How to
interesting
sleep
things.
with the girl on the first date.
Yeah.
We covered everything. That's all you need to know. There you go. You're gonna have better dating success after this. So, guys, go follow Alex Playing with Fire. He has a massive YouTube audience. I love your videos, man.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll have to do some street interviews soon again.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Cool. All right. Good night.
See ya.